Welcome to the Roto Joe's Fantasy Football Podcast. It is week 15, first week of the playoffs for most people in most leagues.
Oh, fuck off.
We'll get to all that. We'll jump. Before that, though, guys, before we talk about right now, let's jump forward. Think about Dynasty drafts a little bit. I took probably about the top 14 prospects. We're going to play trust or bust and talk about expectations for some of these guys as much as we can. It's very early, so, there's not going to be too much there, but we'll get into it a little bit. So first off, we're going to jump right into it. Bijan Robinson, trust or bust? I think I know where we both sit on this, but...
Absolutely, without a doubt, 100% trust. For me, Bijan, the consensus RB1 in this draft. If you have him ranked anywhere else, you're wrong. For me, I think all these, college prospects that we talk about, I feel like landing spot does have a place to play in it. I don't think it is the ultimate, boom or bust territory, but I think their situation has a lot to do with their fantasy outcome. Say for instance, a guy goes to a team with a star running back, he's going to have to sit and wait. He's going to get shelved for a while. Not saying don't draft him because, we learned the Clyde Edwards-Helaire year that you got to take the talent. You got to take the talent, but you also got to slightly factor in situations. So for me, no doubt about it, if I'm sitting on the clock at the 101 in a Dynasty rookie draft, Bijan Robinson's it for me.
I agree he's a trust. Here's where I want to talk about him. How do you have him ranked? Where would you rank him in Dynasty running back ranks right now? Probably for sure top 12. But how high does he go right now? Not knowing landing spot, not knowing anything about what's going to happen next year definitively.
I'm going to go 4.
4. Yeah, I think that's fair. I think top 5 is fair. He's an Adrian Peterson, Saquon Barkley type talent, and that's something we haven't seen in a while. There are a couple landing spots I don't like. Like if he goes to the Eagles, he'll be fine, but he won't be. I don't think he'll get the workload to be an elite level running back one. The other guys are going to mix in. Still, Hurts is going to still be a running quarterback, but some landing spots, Miami maybe. He'll be really fun. So I'm excited for Bijan. I think he's going to be really, really exciting. He's an elite prospect. Hopefully injuries don't get him. Next up, I have Jahmyr Gibbs, Alabama running back. For me, he's a trust. He reminds me a lot of like a Kamara light. He's not going to be a bruiser. He'll be a good PPR weapon, a pass catcher, good at running routes, very technical. As long as the draft capital's there and the opportunity's there, I see him stepping in right away as a top 24 running back. Maybe look at someone like what we thought Rachaad White might be, but fulfilling it. I think Jahmyr Gibbs is the same vein of player as a Rachaad White, but a little bit more talented.
I agree. Jahmyr Gibbs for me is a definite trust. He might even get upgraded landing in a good situation. Love the talent, love the player. I think we got kind of a small sample size because Alabama kind of struggled on the offensive line this year. So I don't even know if we get really like a true taste of what his potential is. But I think I kind of see Bijan as his ceiling's probably a top 10 pick, but he might even go as low as a early 20s pick. I think for that situation, if you're in Dynasty and you get him in the top 8, you're doing okay. There's a lot of different things that could fall there, but I'm definitely in on Jahmyr Gibbs. I think he offers a decent upside, talent-wise. Landing spot's going to be the true decision maker, though.
Yeah, I'm curious how he does between the tackles. He might really be like a Kamara-esque player. We just weren't able to see it because Alabama wasn't what we thought they would be coming into the year. Last running back, and I'm going to be honest, I haven't looked into him much, but I do have a little bit of opinion. Zach Evans, old 5-star. He went to TCU for 2 years, then went to Ole Miss. He's explosive. He's totally he's draft situation dependent. If he goes to a team where he can play, get some run, catch on early, I'd probably try to buy him. But I'm not drafting him in the first round. I'm sure we'll see late first, early second Dynasty draft capital for the guy. And I'm not sure I'm quite there yet. But in the right situation, I think he's a trust. It just depends on where he goes.
Yeah, I mean, there's going to be a lot of moving pieces, as there always is with running back. Because here's a scenario I see happening. Saquon Barkley goes and tries to get paid. That leaves a complete backfield open for a guy like him to get drafted potentially late second round, have a hell of a lot of opportunity. Then he's a buy for me. I do like the talent. He's a guy I'm definitely comfortable with going in the second round, mid to late second round, really, for me. But you're exactly right. I think drafting spot has a lot to do with that, like position, team, what they really invested. Because you can just with running back, it's not like they have to be a first round pick to have value, kind of like a quarterback, so to speak. Running backs that get drafted in the second to fourth round still are really about as valuable as any of them, because it's really rare to see a running back go in the first round anymore.
R.I.P. our late round king, Dameon Pierce. Thou shalt not be forgotten.
Yeah. My boy got put on IR today. It doesn't matter. Like, if he had a broken thumbnail, I'd be like, sit him till next season, because what are we really gaining right now?
Yeah, you're just putting mileage on his body. Next, we're moving to receivers. A little more in tune with all these guys. Jackson Smith and Jigba. He's a complete trust for me. This is a guy who's going to he'll slip in drafts because he didn't play a lot last year. Trust the talent. His sophomore season, he had 95 receptions for 1,600 yards and 9 touchdowns. Across from Olave and Garrett Wilson. That's insane. Trust the talent. You're going to be able to buy low. This is a guy that personally, I'm in a competing dynasty situation. I traded my picks. I'm going to try to trade back into the draft to get a guy like this if he goes past the 5th pick. He's Chris Olave, but way better. And in terms of fantasy production, I think. Not player comp, but fantasy production, he's a much better Chris Olave. I wouldn't be surprised if he's a wide receiver 1. Obviously, still dependent on draft capital. What if that guy goes to Green Bay?
Ooh. That'd be nasty.
I mean, and there's a few teams like that where they're a receiver away, and Jackson Smith and Jigba would be perfect. So I'm trusting him.
Yeah, I really do like the player. Like, when you watch the tape on Njigba, like it's a very high potential type of tape. That's what I see. I see a big dude who can make a catch, who can run a route. Like, he's kind of the complete package. I know the sample size is small, but you've gotta at least have the hope that he could do the same thing at the next level. So yes, I absolutely love that player. I think he does have the potential to slip, because I think not a lot of people are going to think about it. Like, think about if that guy went to Chicago. He goes to Chicago. And I understand Chicago has a really high pick, and it's not really likely that they make that much of a reach at that point. But he hooks up with his old buddy Justin Fields. They go, there's kind of a situation there where they're comfortable. Like, that would be the ultimate type of make him move up my board, as far as fantasy goes. So, but I think there's a lot of situations he could fall into where it's a great deal. Like, He is the highest potential wide receiver out of this class. I'm not going to say he's going to be the best one, but he has the highest upside. So, if you're in the mid to late first round and your team's good and you're building into the next year, that is the perfect pick. That is the perfect pick to add a little bit of spice to it, because you don't really need this guy to perform right away. But if he blows up, it should be even better.
Yeah, I love Smith and Jigba. Now, I want to keep that Chicago thought. Next wide receiver, I would love to see him go to Chicago. Quentin Johnston, TCU athlete, 6'4", 200 pounds. The guy's just a freak athlete. He's a deep threat, true and true. Some drop issues, like all good deep threats. Got to have some drop issues. But at 6'4", in the right situation, I really, really, really like this guy. Now, there are some questions. Can he run routes other than verts? How good will he be after the catch in the NFL? There are questions. But for the most part, I'm trusting Quentin Johnston. I've watched a lot of TCU this year. Started out slow. Second half of the year, he took off, and he was fucking good once he took off.
Yeah, Quentin Johnston, I feel like he should be the first receiver off the board. Truthfully, I feel like he is the most polished and ready to play in the NFL today. Big athlete, yes, he can run a deep bomb, and there's situations that he could fall in where that's going to be great. There's situations he could fall in where it might take some time. But ultimately, talent-wise and true NFL polish, I think Quentin Johnston for me should be the wide receiver one off the board. Now, in that same breath, I'm going to say first wide receiver off the board might be pick 15.
Mm-hmm.
Might be mid-first round, because this is a heavy D-line draft. This is a pretty decent quarterback draft, especially compared to last year. There's just a lot of positions that I feel like are really good. And I just feel like wide receiver, it's not very deep. There's a few really good ones, but it's not like just completely loaded. And so the first wide receiver off the board might be somewhere between 12 and 18. We don't really know.
Yeah. I don't disagree. I do think that there's talent across the board that's going to overcome these wide receivers. If Jackson Smith and Jigba had played a full year this year, maybe that's different. But
yeah, no doubt he would be top 5, top 8 at worst.
Last receiver, Jordan Addison. Trust or bust?
I'm on the fence. Jordan Addison, I do like the player. But the question that comes to mind is, how much did a good coach and a good quarterback help him? And that playing into situational type of deal, like, I never even fucking heard of the guy before Lane Kiffin, Caleb Williams, all them guys came along. I never even fucking heard of him. So
he won the Biletnikoff last year. He had Kenny Pickett at Pitt.
Oh, was he at Pitt?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, and Kenny Pickett isn't saving anybody's careers. So, yeah, I mean, personally, I'm just saying on a personal level, I had never heard of the guy until he hooked up with Lincoln Riley. He hooked up with Caleb Williams. I'm not out, but I'm not preaching.
He smells like Calvin Ridley. He's going to be a Patriot.
Oh. They need a receiver. They do.
He was the Biletnikoff winner in 2021 with Pickett and Pitt's offense before he played with USC and Lincoln Riley. I really like Jordan Addison. Now, I do have questions about his size. He's only 170 pounds. That's a little light at 6 foot.
A little light.
But, maybe he's fine.
Is he the Slim Reaper?
I mean, I feel like Devonta Smith was, 157? So that's really not that far off. That's 10 pounds.
Yeah.
All right, now we're moving into quarterbacks. Last 4. C.J. Stroud, trust or bust, the fun ones.
C.J. Stroud, that's...
Say it. Say the B
I'm
word.
going to go bust on that one.
Yep.
Personally, here's the thing. I love C.J. Stroud in the beginning of the year. I was beating the boards for C.J. Stroud, and as the year went on, I kind of start to realize what happens when he goes to, let's say, Houston. Not the greatest offensive line, almost no weapons at this point. Like, I understand next year might be a different situation. We got Mechie coming back, hopefully. We're building up positional players, but say he goes to a team like that, can he be successful? Can he overcome adversity, which we really haven't seen him do, right? He's ultimately played himself into a position where he's going to be a high pick, and that's okay. Long term, I think if he gets in a team that builds a good team around him, he could be the best quarterback in this draft. But there's a whole lot of ifs, right? There's a whole lot of maybes. There's a whole lot of situational, like, it's almost like a lottery ticket. I see C.J. Stroud as a lottery ticket. It may be great. It may be worthless, and that's really the way it could go for me. Like I said, I still have him ranked in my rankings as quarterback 2. But I don't love that. I don't love taking him high or early. Like, I'm going to let someone else make that gamble.
He's my quarterback 2 with a big ass asterisk, which is I want to see Will Levis pre-draft stuff. I want to see him go through the process. I don't like Stroud. A lot of his production comes when they're up 2 scores. I don't remember the exact stat, but a lot of it comes when they're up 2 scores. Maybe that's just a product of Ohio State being up 2 scores a lot. Maybe it's because he's only comfortable playing with that type of a lead, and he's never made it to the Big Ten championship game. Lost to Michigan twice as a starter. He's been unspectacular when the moment's brightest, and in the NFL, that's not going to cut it. And that's with high-level NFL talent receivers every year. Marvin Harrison Jr., Jackson Smith and Jigba, Wilson, Olave. They have a freshman. I can't remember his name. It starts with an E, though. He's really good, too.
Watch me blow the bank from Marvin Harrison Jr. Watch me.
He's good.
He's fucking good. Yeah. I love watching that guy. Like, his catches, his routes, dude. Dad's been coaching this little motherfucker up since he came out the womb. Like, he taught him how to run a curl route as a toddler.
Out the womb running corners.
Yeah.
So, yeah, out on Stroud. Next up, Bryce Young, trust or bust?
Oh, man. So this is where I get to a real big divide. Ultimately, Houston, the right move for Houston is to take Bryce Young 101. And I'm going to tell you why. Not the most physically gifted person. He's not gonna pull Lamar Jackson. He's not Herbert sized. He's not he's just not checking any boxes physically. What he is good at is accuracy, leadership. I think he does really well for his frame. Does very well under pressure, and I think that's what Houston needs. I think that's what Houston needs to build on. So Bryce Young 101, I'm good with. I love it. I think Bryce could grow with Houston initially, though. Like, if you're in a situation where you need a quarterback to perform right now, go make a trade. I think it might be 2 years for Bryce Young to really start returning fantasy relevance. I mean, we saw Trevor Lawrence. Took him a year and a half to catch him. I think he's lights out.
He's here.
I agree. He's arrived. But it took this guy who checked every physical box, who did everything in college, like it took him a year and a half. So the thought that Bryce Young's going to come out of the gates and probably in Houston if he declares for the draft and just be lights out, unrealistic. You know, I kind of see him. I see him as a lot of Drew Brees, right? They got a lot of similar traits. They got a lot of similar situation. Took Drew Brees 3, 4, 5 years.
Kind of like Tua.
Took Tua a couple years. But, hey, he's playing well.
I like Bryce Young. I think he might have a similar career arc stat-wise to maybe a Russell Wilson, but just not as corny.
Bad.
Houston Nation, let's ride.
No.
Yeah.
We don't do that.
I'm going to mail him a ring if we win the Dynasty championship.
He's sitting on your bench. What does it fucking matter?
I'm going to send him a picture of that. I'm going to send him to the practice facility. All right, last two quarterbacks, the speculative guys. Will Levis, trust or bust? I'll start here. In the right situation, I'm trusting him. Played really well his sophomore year in Kentucky. This last year, they had a ton of injuries, a lot of playmakers left. New OC. It was a lot of different moving parts. I like some Will Levis. He played in a Shanahan style offense. He has all the tools. I think he is he's the Josh Allen. Like the if this breaks right, he'll be a very high level quarterback guy in the class. I trust Will Levis in the right situation. You know, if he went to Carolina, I probably don't love that. But if he goes to a good situation, I'm in.
Yeah, so here's the deal with Will Levis for me is he physically he's the closest to Josh Allen, but here's the deal. In the pre-draft process, Josh Allen wasn't the most physically gifted person in that class. He didn't have the highest stats, but Josh Allen, in my eyes, had the most drive out of any of them. He was not going to be denied. He continually has that type of attitude. He's just different in that mindset, in that situation. Like he has more grind than everybody else. Will Levis, to me, physically, I think he has a lot of opportunity to have that. And you're exactly right. He ends up in Carolina. I don't want no part of it because that is a long rebuild they got going. And it's not going to be anything. That check ain't going to cash for years. There's ramblings that potentially the Raiders move on from Derek Carr. He falls into that situation, we're talking a different story. I think with the right coach and the right coordinator, they could really develop this guy. I think he's a developmental prospect. I don't think he.
Derek Carr to Indianapolis. Who says no?
Well, Indianapolis loves to recycle a good past prime quarterback. So
Derek Carr's not past his prime, though. You're crazy. He's only like 32.
I know. We have
4 years.
We have the same birthday. That's all I know. But I think he's 2 years old. No, he's a year older than me, so he's 31 right now.
Yeah, he's not past his prime.
No, but
that would be the best quarterback they've picked up in the Ballard era.
Yes, 100%.
31.7. That's his age.
They should have done more to keep Luck around, honestly. They should have not let him get his shit rocked every week, and they wouldn't even be in this conversation.
So I'm curious about this last one. Anthony Richardson, trust or bust?
Man, I want to trust him. I do. how I just talked about Will Levis being a developmental prospect, Anthony Richardson is that plus some, but with a way higher upside. I mean, you're looking at a potential Lamar Jackson, right? A guy that everybody really had ranked really low that comes out and does really well. Situationally, he could be the best fantasy prospect we've seen in a long time at the quarterback position. Or he could just not. That's a huge gamble. Situation, coaching staff, a lot of things are going to play into his development. But I am excited about that. I am excited about what he brings to the table, the potential there. I would be okay throwing an early second and seeing what happens.
Yeah. I think, he has the highest high and the lowest low.
Very much so. Yeah, I couldn't have said it any better.
Do you think he gets the Malik Willis treatment, or maybe gets to play a little bit early on?
I think that's all relative to where he goes. Here's what I'd like to see. I would like to see him go to like a Detroit. Or the Jets.
I like Detroit.
Yeah. One of those situations with a questionable quarterback. I did see a headline where the Lions are ready to commit to Jared Goff for years to come, blah, blah, blah. That's here or there. Sure. Jared Goff is an average starting quarterback. Let's just say that. He's got a lot of Kirk Cousins in him. He really thrives in garbage time. Play a lot of close games. I'm not convinced he's the Super Bowl answer, but if they got a guy like Anthony Richardson that they could shelf and kind of develop for a year, maybe a year and a half, and then cut him loose, I like it. I like it a lot.
Miami's up 5 on the Bills right now.
You shitting me?
In the snow. Raheem Mostert out back from the dead. 14 carries, 118 yards. You love to see it.
Love to see it.
I'm out on Anthony Richardson unless he's in a great situation. But I see the upside.
Definitely.
Caden, we're moving to locks. Your first lock of the week. Kansas City versus Houston under 49. You just saying Houston can't score?
More or less, yeah. Here's the deal. So we got Nico Collins out. We got Brandon Cooks out. Dameon Pierce went to IR. So we're rolling in this game. I think we're still starting Davis Mills. I don't know why. But we're also doing that weird shit, man.
2-quarterback system.
And it almost worked. We were competitive in a game we shouldn't have been competitive in, right? I was sitting there watching this game because, like we've talked about, we're in Kansas. All we can really guarantee on regular cable is that we get the Cowboys and the Chiefs. That's all I can guarantee is I can watch every one of those games. Yep. Cowboys happen to be playing Houston. My fantasy season's over. It doesn't matter. So I'm watching Houston, and we're out there swapping out quarterbacks. We're taking 2 very, very low level, like bottom 30 type of quarterbacks, and we're competitive in a game. In my opinion, we should have been competitive. And I couldn't catch what the fuck was going on. These guys are switching out. They're throwing touchdowns. Like, crazy, but it was working. But here's my deal. Chiefs have a decent defense this year. Like, they've always kind of been hit or miss as far as defense goes. All of our best skill position players are out, and all of our defensive players are out. Like, we're not in a good place. Like, Chris Moore is going to be our wide receiver 1. Here's the thing. Go add him on the waiver wire. He's going to get work. Like, if you're in a position where you need a good flex play, I feel like he is that. Don't love Rex Burkhead. I know you do. I don't.
Sleep.
I fucking hate Rex Burkhead.
Sweep.
But we're just not like the only chance to that game getting over 49 points is the Chiefs just fucking laying 42 on us real quick and us accidentally scoring a touchdown.
Yeah, I would agree. My first lock, I have the New England money line going into Las Vegas.
Okay.
Belichick's going to want to win this one bad, dude.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. That's what
I know Las Vegas is talented. They have Devontae Adams. But guess who has that playbook? It is the best coordinator in the league. And here's the deal. Josh McDaniels might work both ways. But let's compare Bill Belichick, who's taking this New England team somehow to the fucking playoffs again, to Josh McDaniels, who can't take Carr and Devontae Adams and Josh Jacobs to remotely close to the playoffs right now. Belichick's going to wipe the floor with him. And I think it's going to make a point. And just be on the lookout for Matt Patricia to start calling some crazy shit just for this game so New England proves a point. We're going to all of a sudden be a downfield passing offense. Just wait. I'm just fucking, I know it's going to happen. They're all going to be to prove a goddamn point.
Yeah. I mean, I like a New England money line in this game, and here's why. Because Belichick's petty. Very petty. I think he probably wants this one more than he probably wanted a couple of those Super Bowls. Long-time disciple, he's just got to best him. And understandably so. Because, in a couple of years, Josh McDaniels is going to go back and be the offensive coordinator in New England. And that's good for you guys. Man, it is. It is the best thing that could happen.
It's the way God intended it. It's just how it's supposed to be. And Brady should come back. You get the whole fucking gang back together. Bring Tom back. Josh come back.
Talk to Gronk, see what he's doing.
I hear Julian Edelman's still in shape.
I'm sure he is. Yeah.
What's Danny Amendola doing these days?
Nothing, because he played 2 years in Houston. And that's another thing. Like, I understand Casario is one of those dudes, and he loves the Rex Burkheads. He loves the fucking Danny Amendolas, but he's got to also understand the situation. Like, Rex Burkhead added something to that New England offense because they were already relevant, right? Like, they already had something going. Rex Burkhead ain't going to fucking make it. Just saying. He ain't going to fucking create a culture change because he's so good. No, he is a
Why are you hating on Rex Burkhead?
Player.
Dude,
huh?
What's wrong with Rex Burkhead? What'd he do to you? Did he hurt your feelings?
35 and white trying to play in this game, and it ain't going to work.
Did he take your lunch money?
He took my hopes and dreams.
All right, next lock. Detroit +1 at New York Jets.
Oh, yeah. So this one's really simple to me. Like, Detroit's hungry. Detroit's out there playing good football. And I know I never thought I'd say that sentence out loud in my lifetime, at least, because they've been bad as long as, as long as I've been alive. But they're out there. They're hungry. They're playing close games. They're winning them. I'm happy to see it. Jets are rolling out there with Zach Wilson. Big fucking mistake because those Lions are going to fucking eat him alive. Like the Jets defense, I just don't think they have enough to fucking really pull it out. And with that line, I love it.
I like Detroit +1 too. Zach Wilson just absolutely fucking sucks. He's terrible. He's terrible. It's going to be funny how bad he's going to be. Like, I think he's going to be comically bad this game.
I saw a headline.
Whatever the interception line is.
That Mike White went to 10 different doctors to try to get cleared to play. 10.
Damn. That must be bad.
And all 10 of them told him no. You gotta appreciate that kind of swagger. And honestly, it's a business decision the way I see it, because they have too much draft capital in Zach Wilson to where they're gonna have to let it die, and he's potentially at this point playing for a job somewhere else. So yes. I get all of it. But 10 doctors told him no, and he's still out there like, fucking put me in.
I love Mike White.
I do too. Yeah. Big fan.
I like him. I think he's a good quarterback too. I don't think he's bad. All right, last lock. Rams at Green Bay under 39.5. Temperature at game time for Baker Mayfield and these West Coast guys, 20-ish degrees with 1 to 3 inch snow possible. Both teams already struggle on offense when it's nice outside. Both defenses are all right. Baker, I don't think Baker's all that good. He put up 20 points against Las Vegas. Cool. Whatever. Green Bay's good on defense-ish. The Rams are just bad. They're a shit show. It's going to be cold. Like under 39.5. I could see it being like 21-3, 21-6, something like that.
Yeah, I don't see the Rams coming out and really being all that competitive. I mean, it was a nice Cinderella story last week. Like, Buddy flew to fucking Los Angeles on Tuesday. He won a game on Thursday. Good for him. I don't think that really keeps up. I think Aaron Rodgers gets the best of them, the best of a depleted defense. Them boys don't know how to play in the snow. Aaron Rodgers does. That's my thing.
Yeah.
Easy pick to take that line, and I love it.
All right, transitioning into our loves and hates. Your first love, James Conner versus Denver.
So Denver is absolutely riddled with injuries. I think. Oh, Ripken.
Yep.
Ripken is the starting quarterback. Wilson didn't clear the concussion protocol. They are absolutely riddled on defense as far as injury goes. Lost another big defensive lineman last week. I really just don't see. You're playing a game of the backup quarterbacks. I really just don't see Colt McCoy going out there. Love Colt McCoy, Longhorns legend. Don't see him going out there and picking them apart. I think it's a heavy run game for Arizona. Their season's over. I mean, they know it. Everybody else knows it. I just see it being a heavy run game, and I like James Conner to probably not post the best yards per carry line, but I bet he falls in the end zone a couple times because no one else will.
I think you're right, but I just don't like James Conner. Denver's defense is good, actually, so he might not fall in the end zone.
Everybody's injured.
That is correct. Well, Arizona's kind of the same.
I don't care about their defense. I care about Denver's defense and James Conner in this conversation.
All right, let's talk about Rex Burkhead. At Kansas City. Kansas City is going to smoke the Texans, so let's start there. Burkhead's flirted with good production when given the opportunity in the past. I remember one year, 2017 or 18, he started week 17 in lieu of the Bengals starter because they were sitting their starters for the playoffs. Had an RB 5 week, 20-something points.
Oh, my God. That was 5 years ago.
Week 16 and 17 of 2021, he posted not elite, but top 15 running back production. Week 1 this year posted top 20 running back production. They're playing, again, an elite Kansas City offense. Burkhead is screaming PPR value to me. He's going to see 5, 6, 7 targets with no Nico Collins, no Cooks. Who else is fucking in that running back room? Wale? Is he going to make a dent in Burkhead's work? No. Burkhead's going to see 70% of the snaps, be involved in the pass game. And if anyone falls in the end zone for Houston, it's probably going to be Rex Burkhead. I'm not saying he's talented, but he's going to get the opportunity, same one that Dameon Pierce got, plus a pass workload.
I don't deny the opportunity conversation here because, yes, you're right. There's no one left. Ogabugawage, Not really a huge fan of the guy. I think Houston's Twitter is more of a fan of him than I am. Don't love it, but I like it as a desperation flex play. I understand what you're saying with the targets. Yes, he is a pass catching back. Do I think he's going to post a running back one finish? Probably fucking not. But he's going to have upside as far as the pass work, because we know, regardless of which quarterback's taking the snap, either one of them could really throw it downfield. So it's all about mid game work and dump offs. So I agree, but I don't like Rex Burkhead.
Would you agree with this? He's a RB 18 to 24 with low end RB1 upside if he scores.
As much as I hate to say it, I would probably agree with that.
Yeah. He's a good flex play. And that's what I was going for. Your next love, Aaron Rodgers versus the Rams in the cold.
Yeah, so these boys in Los Angeles, they don't know how to go out there and play in that cold. I think here's the thing. I'm on this bandwagon now that Jalen Ramsey has been getting absolutely fucking torched this year. Am I wrong in saying the quote-unquote best corner in the league has, every time I see him on TV, which has been a few times this year, just getting cooked.
You know what he needs?
Huh?
He needs the Bill Belichick rehab camp. It's a 1-year deal.
Yeah. No, his contract's too fat. They can't get out of it right now, I don't think.
Not at all.
They signed him like 5-6 years, $120 million, something stupid. So yeah, he's stuck in LA. But the quote unquote best corner in the league, which I don't think is even relatively close. Like in my mind, he's outside of the top 10 to 12 right now. Just been getting torched. I don't think Aaron Donald's playing. I don't know what that situation is. I know he was out a couple games. I don't think he's playing. That defense is struggling. And Aaron Rodgers, he like I said, he's getting older. He's playing a different brand of football these days, but he's still smart enough to pick apart a weak defense. I love Aaron Rodgers in this game. Getting them out in the cold, them California boys can't handle that snow.
No. I like Aaron Rodgers this week too. He's a good quarterback too in Superflex.
Mm-hmm.
My last love, Brian Robinson going up against the Giants. Robinson's coming off 2 straight 18-plus touch, 100-plus yard games, one of them being against New York. This has me high on him coming into Week 15. If he falls in the end zone, there's a real chance we see him as a top 5 or 6 weekly running back this week. New York is getting ran on in the highest order this year. They've just been getting torched on the ground. They've allowed 160-plus rushing yards in 4 out of their last 4 games and 100-plus in 6 of their last 7, including allowing 200 yards in one of those games on the ground. Look for Brian Robinson to grind them out on the ground. I'm looking for probably 20 touches, 100 yards, a touchdown. Pretty good numbers for Brian Robinson, the rookie.
Yeah, absolutely. I think there's definitely some opportunity there. For me, like he's a potential, like if you can get him cheap in Dynasty, you might as well throw the dart. Like if you're in that situation where you're looking for a running back, see if you can snag him. I think he's got a situation evolving where he might be the guy for at least a year or two. I don't have a hell of a lot of knocks on the guy. I actually kind of like the player. And situationally, I think he puts them in a position where they don't really need to go out and get anybody. Jerick McKinnon really is only, or not Jerick McKinnon, J.D. McKissick's really only taken away pass game work. But he's proven to have at least decent flex value even without that. So I'm in on him this week. I think New York gives it up.
Yeah, I like Brian Robinson. Your hate, going into the hate, your first hate. Saquon Barkley versus Washington. It's keeping it in the same game.
Yeah, man, for me, like, here's the situation. Like, if you have Saquon Barkley, you can't not play him. And I want to reiterate that is if you have Saquon Barkley, you can't bench him. You just got to temper expectations this week because Washington as a whole defensive unit isn't great, but their run game work is pretty decent. Daniel Jones isn't going to beat anybody in the pass game. So I think that's Saquon Barkley's issue. I think he, we'll talk about this after this conversation, but I made a trade for Saquon Barkley this week in a Dynasty league. And I don't hate that trade, but I just don't feel like this is his game. I don't feel like he can beat that defensive line. I don't think that New York is what we thought they were the first 5 games of the year.
Brian DeBall did a really good job there for a while,
Great.
but the deficiencies have just came out. I agree. I don't like Saquon. Not this game. My first hate, Garrett Wilson versus Detroit. Just sum it up real fast. Zach Wilson, RIP. Zach Wilson is the worst quarterback in the room. Joe Flacco and Mike White are both better than him. At this point, he's playing for a trade to go try to be a rehab project elsewhere. He had one good college season when BYU could only play FBS opponents because of COVID, because they weren't affiliated with a conference. It's just not good. The guy fucking sucks, and Garrett Wilson's going to be hurt by that. Conklin's going to be hurt by that. Elijah Moore's going to be hurt by that. He's been playing better of recent. It's just everyone's fucked. Everyone's fucked. So,
yeah.
Thanks for coming out, Jets.
Hear me out. Like, does Carolina play themselves out of like the top 3 quarterbacks in the draft? And do they go take another rehab project in Zach Wilson?
No way, unless they were giving him away for free. If they have to give any type of real draft capital, no way.
They got Baker Mayfield basically for free.
If they were giving him away for like a 5th or a 6th, maybe.
Yeah. I mean, another Jets to Panthers rehab project, but yeah, no, I love Garrett Wilson. I think he is a gonna be a very good football player. I love him in Dynasty if you can get your hands on it. Like, he has proven that even being on the Jets isn't enough of a stigma to slow him down, but this just isn't his week.
Yeah. Your next hate, Travis Etienne versus Dallas.
Yeah, so for me, Etienne's really struggled the last couple of weeks, and I think a lot of it has to do with Trevor Lawrence's upbringing. I think he's really developing as a passer, and they've played in games where they weren't necessarily ahead, and I think that plays a lot into Etienne's workload, is they just don't too close of a game to have like a real rushing line. Like, he's always going to have the passing work, and I think that's where his value is really going forward. But I just don't love him this week going into Dallas. Stout defense. I understand Houston did what they did to him last week, but just not a guy I love. Like, ultimately, Etienne was highly drafted coming out of the year, so I feel like you probably got to play him. But if you got somewhat of a close option, I'm probably going that route going into this week.
Yeah, I don't love Etienne this week either. How do you feel about Trevor Lawrence?
Dallas gave it up to 2 quarterbacks that suck last week, so I feel like maybe Trevor Lawrence. Like, I really think Trevor Lawrence has arrived. That's kind of the conversation I'm on. Like, he's doing all this, and his best receiver is Christian Kirk, maybe. Like, I understand Evan Ingram had a God game last week. Took him from tight end 16 to tight end 4, I think, which is stupid when you think about it. But I tweeted this out earlier.
David Njoku and Evan Ingram are both top 8 tight ends.
I heard you. But let me tell you something else. I tweeted this out earlier. Zach Ertz hasn't played since week 10.
Tight end
He's
7.
still the tight end 7.
Tight end.
Yeah. I mean, Travis Kelce has a 100-point lead on the tight end 2, which is Mark Andrews.
Mark Andrews played out with Tyler Huntley. Lamar can't come back any faster. Holy shit.
Yeah. I mean, isn't it stupid, though? Like, it's Travis Kelce and the rest of them fuckers. Like, that's really how it is. Like, honestly, T.J. Hawkinson, I think, is 3, and it's very close to Mark Andrews, which I wouldn't have saw coming.
Yeah, I'm not necessarily surprised. T.J. Hawkinson has definitely benefited in Minnesota.
Yeah.
I love it.
You knew he would, too. I mean, I knew he would.
All right, my last hate, DeAndre Hopkins versus Denver. You have a sneaky good Denver defense, Patrick Surtain and other defensive cornerback talent in the secondary. I just don't think this is a good matchup for DeAndre Hopkins with Colt McCoy as a quarterback. It's not necessarily because Hopkins might not see 5 or 6 catches, but I don't think they're going to find the end zone. If anyone scores, it'll be Connor, and I think that's going to cap DeAndre Hopkins' value. Let's talk about the Saquon Barkley trade. Run me down on it.
Okay, so let's break this down. So I'm in a Dynasty league with you and 10 other unfortunate bastards. So here's the deal. My running back situation's fucked. I traded you, Jonathan Taylor. I was kind of leaning on a lot of aging assets. Here's the deal. I went full rebuild, traded all those assets to the point where I was working with Travis Etienne, James Cook, and Kenneth Gainwell as the 3 best running backs on my roster. I feel really good in a lot of other places at this point. You know, my quarterbacks are Josh Allen, Justin Fields. Love that going into next year. I have a couple of very good developmental wide receivers. I got Jamison Williams and George Pickens in the draft last year. Love that. I just knew I was completely fucked at running back. And I have a potentially very high pick going into 2023. And here was the conversation. This dude's trying to unload Saquon. I know what he's doing. He wants out of this situation because it could go good, could go bad. I love the talent in the guy. Injury history kind of scares me. So he's like, I want a first. I want a first-round pick. And I said, here's the deal. You're not getting my probably very early first-round pick this year. I'm going to bet on myself and go a first round in 24 because I feel like the roster I have is poised to make a turnaround. But I was also like, I'm not giving you a first for Saquon straight up. We gotta sweeten this deal on mine. So I said, hey, give me Calvin Ridley. Give me Calvin Ridley too. I'll throw in 2 late seconds, 2 probably, if in my own mind, the way I see it in this league, probably 11 and 12 in the back end of the second round. And he says, oh, throw in Trey Sermon. Okay. Absolutely. He sent it to me and I fucking fell off the couch trying to click accept on that. I love Calvin Ridley going into next year. I think he is a potential top 4 or 5 wide receiver. I think Trevor Lawrence has arrived. Like I couldn't read more into that. Huh?
The Stephon Diggs effect.
Yes. And rights, like we're so quick to forget that he had a wide receiver 4 year in a bad offense with Matt Ryan. Like guys got the talent. Like so you hook him up with this generational dude named Trevor Lawrence who's out there dealing to fucking Zay Jones and Christian Kirk, and tell me this guy isn't going to be a fucking AJ Brown type of guy.
Hey, don't hate on Christian Kirk.
So everybody who's listened to this point, rate my trade. Tell me how I did. Don't pull any punches, but given the situation, I love it. I mean, I feel like I've got a very good starting roster going in next year.
How fast do you want to sell Saquon?
I'd be willing to make a move at any point.
If you sell him fast for a good return, you win. Yeah. You don't want to hold him for more than a year.
No. Here's my breaking point is we go into the offseason. And say he gets traded to, or not traded, but say they let him walk, or a sign and trade type of deal to the right situation. That's the moment. That's the moment I got to make a move. Just like Deshaun Watson, I held Deshaun Watson for a year. Let him sit on the fucking bench. Let him collect dust. And the second he got traded to, you got to strike while the iron's hot. That's what it is. So say we go through this offseason and they don't re-sign Saquon, but they do a sign and trade to, oh, fuck. Trying to think of a good team. Say they do a sign and trade to the Rams. That's when I'm going to fucking trade him. While the news is hot, like, there's something to be said about the offseason in a dynasty league. Because you really have nothing to fucking feed on. Those trades, those free agency signings, those are when to move players because everybody's thinking about it. I will get a stupid return on Saquon at that moment.
If that happens.
I don't know. Maybe he stays in New York. I don't know. He's the wide running back 5 even in that shitty offense with fucking Daniel Jones. So
and they'll be better.
They'll be better.
Yeah, they'll definitely be better. Anything else we want to hit on?
Merry Christmas to everybody. Thank you for watching the channel. Roto Joe Season 2, I feel like it's been a real success. I feel like we've all really grown in this season. I may be out of the fantasy playoffs, but I know you got a couple leagues you're tinkering on. Only thing I have to look forward to is Scott Fishbowl round 4 of the playoffs. I feel like I got a really good situation there. Can't believe I'm still in that, but looking at moving onward.
Good deal. Well, good luck, everyone. We will be back next week, probably looking at Friday because games are on Saturday. It'll be my birthday, and there'll be games on. I'm a strong arm the family, and I'm having football on. Care about the Christmas music. Have a good day, guys.
All right.